There are certain places on Earth where mysterious disappearances seem to occur more often than they should. These are some of the scariest places on Earth, and very often, the fate of those missing people remains a mystery that will seemingly never be solved. Number 5. The village of Pecos in San Miguel County, New Mexico, has some of the most beautiful scenery in the state. But it has a sinister side, as it is also known as an area where people go missing, and the local tribespeople consider it to be one of the scariest places on Earth. Located just outside of Santa Fe, the village of Pecos lies between the Pecos Wilderness Area and the Santa Fe National Forest. This makes it a perfect spot for tourists to go hiking, fishing, camping, and to experience unspoiled wilderness. 61-year-old Melvin Nadell visited the Elk Mountain area just north of Pecos on the 6th of September 2006. He was in exceptionally good shape for his age, as he was a gym owner, and so would have had no problem traversing the rugged terrain in the area. He was joined by his brother-in-law and his friend, Joe Muniz, and the three arrived via a logging road, next to which they decided to set up camp. After discussing their plans for the hunt, Muniz and Mel's brother-in-law followed a trail into the woods, while Mel built a hunting blind closer to their camp. At around 7 a.m., the two men returned to the campsite, but saw that Mel was still not back. They did a quick search but found no sign of him. His Jeep was still where he had parked it, and they started to worry that he may have gotten lost. They called after him into the woods but got no answer, and when he still had not returned a few hours later, they started to honk their vehicle's horns and fired weapons into the air, but still got no response. The following day, a search was launched, eventually becoming one of the largest in New Mexico's history. Mel's footprints were located, but they suddenly stopped about 100 yards from the campsite, as if he had just vanished into thin air. He was never found. Another person to mysteriously disappear in the area was 71-year-old Emma Tresp from North Little Rock, Arkansas. She intended to join a retreat at a monastery in Pecos, where she had been several times before. She'd planned to arrive in the late afternoon on the 31st of August, 1998, but she never did, and 6 days later, her car was found by a hunter along a service road known as the Devil's Road. She was reported missing on the 8th of September. She was last seen on security footage filling up her car at a service station in Santa Rosa on the 31st. From there, she inexplicably ended up on the service road, which leads only into the middle of nowhere. Her footprints circled the car, but never trailed away from it, and just like in Mel's case, she seems to have been snatched from existence, never to be seen again. Number 4. The Superstition Mountains, located in Arizona, are rumored to be the possible location of one of America's most unsolved mysteries, the Dutchman's Gold Mine. But since local Native Americans believe the mountain to hold the entrance to the underworld, it's also considered by many to be among the scariest places on Earth. The vanishing of James Kidd in December of 1949 is a strange one indeed, but his life leading up to the disappearance is equally bizarre. Kidd lived such an obscure life that it may have never come to light that he was missing, but the fact that he left behind a $500,000 fortune shrouded his life in even more mystery. He was known for his belief in the supernatural and had a particular interest in ghosts, so much so that he left his entire fortune to whoever was able to prove that they exist. He never owned a car or a driver's license and had no military, social security, fingerprint, or police records. In October of 1949, Kidd paid a man to drive him out to the Superstition Wilderness area, and he took enough supplies with him to last for several weeks. After being dropped off, Kidd asked the man to check in with him each month, which he did, but the man noticed that Kidd looked worse every time he saw him. When he returned in February of the next year, Kidd was in a terrible state, and the man warned him that he wouldn't last much longer in the wilderness and asked him to come back to town. But Kidd refused. When he saw him again, Kidd was even worse off, and again he pleaded with him to leave, but he once again refused and then was never seen again. Kidd is one of only dozens of people who have gone missing in these mountains, and many of these cases have never been solved and likely never will be. Number 3. The Nevada Triangle is an area that lies between Las Vegas, Fresno, and Reno, known for the mysterious disappearances of multiple aircraft over the last 50 years. The exact figure isn't known, but many people believe that as many as 2,000 flights have vanished in the 25,000 square mile area. Some say that this figure is conservative and that many more planes have just not been found yet. One of the earliest incidents involved a B-52 bomber that disappeared over the Sierra Nevada mountains in 1943. The flight, piloted by Second Lieutenant Willis Turvey, was on a routine night training mission that took off from Fresno and was headed for Bakersfield in Tucson before being scheduled to return. A search mission was launched the following day, with 9 B-24 bombers scouring the area, but this resulted in the disappearance of yet another plane. The wreckage would not be found for another 12 years when Huntington Lake was drained for repairs to the dam. Another strange case is that of Charles Ogle, a developer and builder from the San Francisco Bay Area. On the 12th of August 1964, Ogle departed from Oakland International Airport in a Cessna 210A. He had no flight plan and did not inform the tower before taking off towards either Reno or Las Vegas, and he would never be seen or heard from again. In 2007, a massive search for another plane, that of Steve Fawcett, resulted in the discovery of another 8 planes that had crashed in the triangle, one of which was believed to have belonged to Ogle, though this has not been confirmed. Only one of the 8 other planes was ever partially identified, and the remaining 7, as well as the fate of Charles Ogle, remains a mystery. Number 2. The Devil's Sea expands from Japan to the islands of Bonin and includes a large portion of the Philippine Sea. It's known as one of the most dangerous places on Earth to sail through, as many ships have disappeared in the area along with their crews. Reports go back as far as 1274 and 1281, when Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, attempted to make inroads into Japan. On both occasions, however, he failed as his ships vanished along with around 40,000 of his soldiers. It's said that they were struck by typhoons on both occasions, causing the Japanese to believe that they were being protected by an unseen force. During the 1940s and 50s, more fishing vessels and at least 5 military ships went missing in the Devil's Sea. The Japanese government sent a research ship to investigate the area and attempt to locate some of the lost vessels, but it met the same fate, disappearing without a trace. The shipwreck would be found sometime later, but the crew has never been found and they remain missing to this day. Following this incident, the Japanese government declared the area as too dangerous for the transportation of goods and for marine voyaging. This also resulted in any additional investigations into the disappearances to be abandoned, and we will likely never learn the reality behind these mysterious disappearances. Number 1. The Michigan Triangle is an area that extends from Ludington and Bennington Harbor in Michigan to Wisconsin, where people go missing along with the vessels that they sail in. The first reported case is that of the Rosabelle, a small two-masted schooner that was used to bring wood and supplies to High Island for the House of David. On the 30th of October, 1921, the Rosabelle was loaded with lumber and set sail from High Island to Benton Harbor, when it was supposedly caught in gale force winds and capsized. The vessel would eventually be found 42 miles from Milwaukee, with no trace of the crew ever being found. Then in 1937, the O.S. McFarland, captained by George R. Donner, was sailing to Port Washington after picking up 9.8 tons of coal in Erie, Pennsylvania. Donner instructed his first mate to wake him up as they neared the port, and the man attempted to do so but got no answer when he knocked. The crew eventually had no choice but to break down the cabin door, fearing that something may have happened to the cabin. But once they did so, they were shocked to find the cabin empty with no sign of Donner. He was never seen or heard from again. In November of 1940, a massive blizzard hit the area, resulting in the wreckage of not only 2 fishing tugboats, but also 3 massive freighters off the coast of Pentwater, Michigan, all on the same day. The wreckages of the 3 freighters were eventually found, but the fate of the 2 tugboats, as well as that of their crews, remains unknown, as they still remain missing. On the 23rd of June, 1950, Northwest Airlines Flight 2501 took off from New York City to Seattle, with 58 passengers on board. As he flew over the Michigan Triangle, Captain Robert Lind radioed the tower and requested permission to descend to 2,500 feet, as they were approaching a severe electrical storm with high winds. Permission was denied, and the plane was forced to continue on its trajectory before completely disappearing from radar. No further transmissions were received from Lind or any of the crew, and the plane never arrived at its destination. A search was launched in which the entirety of Lake Michigan was dragged, but no sign of the plane's wreckage was found. Since then, a yearly search has been undertaken, funded by nautical thriller author Clive Cussler. But despite this, no sign of the plane has ever been found, and its whereabouts remain an unsolved mystery. Many theories, similar to those concerning the Bermuda Triangle, have been posited to attempt to explain the mysterious disappearances in the Lake Michigan Triangle. Some people believe that UFOs are responsible. Others think that strange portals have transported missing people into another time, and some theorize that other paranormal phenomena are responsible. However, in 2007, Mark Hawley, a professor of archaeology, along with a colleague, Brian Abbott, conducted a search using sonar around the triangle area in an attempt to find some of the missing ships. What they found instead was a line of stones arranged in a similar way to those at Stonehenge in about 40 feet of water. Divers were sent to photograph the strange discovery, and they found a prehistoric carving of a mastodon dating to around 12,000 years ago. The location remains secret, and no explanation has been given for the stone's presence. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.